In this video, I'm going to go through an assessment from start to finish. So the first thing that you'll need to do is check the 7-year plan to see which class or classes and outcomes you need to assess. So you'll go onto the Big Bend homepage, and on there you will go to About Us. You'll kind of hover over it, and you'll see Instruction and Assessment, and you'll click on that. You'll scroll down to assessment plans, and then you'll click on your department or the departments related to you, and you'll check the 7-year plans applicable to you. On that 7-year plan, you'll be able to find out which courses and outcomes you need to assess this year. So for this example, you'll see that I opened the English department 7-year plan, and for 2021, we need to assess fiction and poetry. If math or institutional outcome is an outcome for you, you need to be assessing it this year. If math isn't an outcome for you, you still might want to try to do a math assessment, and that's what I'll be doing in this video. I'll be assessing English 101, and even though we don't need to assess it this year, I'm going to try to do the math assessment for the year, just so I can be part of the college community. So some of you might be looking at that 7-year plan now and thinking, oh no, I was supposed to assess a class in the fall, but I didn't. Now that's over, and I'm not teaching that class for a while. So what happens if I miss my assessment for a course? There's some unapproved consequences, including you're required to avoid eye contact with the assessment committee members, you have your driver's license suspended, and you're required to participate in a gladiatorial style battle with the dean and vice president. Those haven't been approved just yet. Right now, the consequence is that you will have to update your 7-year plan, and you will need to have a larger conversation with the dean and vice president and the assessment committee. So next you'll want to look at the prepackaged math plan to see if it works for you. Choosing to do the prepackaged plan makes it easier for you to decide on an assessment activity, but it also helps the assessment committee in college by creating assessment at the program and institutional level. The prepackaged course level institution outcome 2 activity is on the assessment homepage under templates, and you'll see it's listed here as Gen Ed 2 activity. Hopefully by the time you're seeing this video, we've updated the web page and it says outcome 2. If this activity works for you, use this template and edit the appropriate fields to your plan. If this activity doesn't work for you, use the assessment plan template and edit the appropriate fields to your exact plan. It's just a little side note. I know these things can get kind of complicated. The templates are just Word documents with questions you'll need to submit on the final online form. That form looks like the one you see in front of you. And we're just trying to get you to think ahead about this form so that you understand the questions that you'll be required to answer when you finish your assessment. And it really doesn't matter which of these forms you use, the prepackaged form or the assessment plan template. I'm not actually going to collect either of those. Those aren't going to be long-term forms. They're really honestly just to get you thinking ahead about this. You may be required to submit them to your dean depending on what your dean wants you to do, but really they're just helpful forms so that you're thinking about the assessment process with a wider lens. The next thing I'd want you to do is to watch the Assessing for Improvement video. I know some of you watched this video last year. I think it's like 5 or 7 minutes long or something. But it's really going to get you in the right mindset about what you're trying to do with assessment. In the past, I've received assessment from people, and really all they're trying to do is confirm that they're meeting the outcomes of their classes. But really, you should be using the assessment process to do 2 things at once. 1, confirm that you're meeting those outcomes, but 2, improve upon the teaching process that you have on those outcomes. And a lot of people miss that second step, and it's an important step in the assessment process. So in this next part of the video, I'm going to actually go through what I did for assessment this year, just give you guys an idea of what's possible. I am doing assessment on English 101, but I still found it possible for me to do the math assessment this year. If I had used the prepackaged course level 2 activity template, it would look like this. I didn't use that template because I wanted to use a template that would be used across many years in case somebody went back and looked at this video for another assessment. So this is one form, but this is the form that I actually ended up using. At the beginning of the year, I went through and I filled out the assessment plan portions. So you'll see I filled out my name, the outcome, program outcome. There is a program outcome, but for academic side, our program outcomes are the same as our institutional outcome. Courses tied to this assessment, English 101, and then course outcome, demonstrate clarity of ideas and sound support of assertions. So the next question on here is, what did you do for your assessment and why? And that why is really asking you, what kind of problem did you see in the classroom that you wanted to address? What did you see that wasn't working so well? And so in the English 101 class, one of the things that we really focus on is evidence. And I really want that evidence to be fact or data driven. And a lot of times I'm getting evidence from students that is opinion based. So, if they were doing a film review, they might say, according to Susan Smith, this film is great. Well, Susan Smith's opinion of the film being great doesn't prove anything more than the student's opinion that the film is great. And so that data or that evidence is missing data that could help make their point. And so what I did is I created a video, and in that video I described primary, secondary, and tertiary sources, and I talked about how in the English classroom and in college, generally primary and secondary sources are what you want to use, and those tertiary sources are things that you want to try to avoid. And it's a little bit more complicated than that, but that's the gist of it. At the end of the assessment, I compared essays from one quarter before I had the video to a quarter after I had the video, and just looked at what kind of data that I ended up getting from that. How many students ended up using opinion sources versus data sources in similar essays in the two classes. What tools or measures did you use? A short video, and then comparisons between two sets of narrative essays. So assessment conclusion, this is obviously what you fill out after you finished your assessment. So what were my results? In my fall English 101 class, 65% of students used at least one opinion quote to back up a claim in their narrative essay. In winter, only 10% of students used an opinion to back up their claim in the narrative essay. The video on primary, secondary, and tertiary sources seems to have had a positive impact, encouraging students to use data or facts to back up their claims. What am I going to do with this basically? Based on the results of the assessment, I'm going to continue to use this video. In the future, the video will be mandatory. It wasn't mandatory last time. I just put it in an announcement and then had it available. I've already added a requirement to the rubric about avoiding tertiary sources, and I did that in winter quarter just to prompt people to use that video. If not addressed above, what changes or recommendations do you have to the college? I don't really have one. And then the last step, when this plan is finished, you have concluded this assessment plan, use this document to submit your assessment in the portal. And you can do that by going to portal, faculty, staff, workplace, MCOs, assessment reporting, enter program assessment here. Or alternatively, you can just go to the assessment page, and under examples, you can click a submit assessment here. To that submit assessment online form, it's going to look like this, and you are going to save your form at the end, and you'll be done with assessment for the year.